welcome back. And we're moving into our first conversation this morning as we find out about a very innovative program that is currently unfolding at St. Catherine Academy in Belize City. We're joined by three students. They're on my right, three seniors, I should say. We have Cameron Linares, we have Davran Rodriguez in the middle, and we have Anya Andrews on the end. And over to our left, we have two of the teachers. We have Kalima Enriquez, who's the head of Humanities and the Geography and Social Studies teacher. And we have Franae Thomas, who is a Social Studies teacher. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
So this is a very interesting event that is happening at St. Catherine, and I think that people have only seen snippets of it and think that's it, but it's actually culminating to something greater. I want to start off with finding out more about where the idea first got started.
The idea, well, it actually occurred at a heads of department meeting. We were sitting around thinking about how could we get our students on board with this ICJ discussion, and our principal said, well, let's do a debate. And then when we presented the idea to the department, they said, let's do more than a debate. Let's do a forum, let's do a referendum election. And so we just took it on and we've just been going with it, right?
Now, when you present this to the students, was it prompted by the level of conversation they were having in the classroom, or was it something that you saw was just for the better good of them?
It was a mix of both, but mostly by their ideas that they have been sharing and asking and saying, why aren't we talking about this more in social studies class?
Wow. Let's hear about that.
This sounds like, Darren is shaking her head. You were one of the people who said that?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why.
Well, because it is an issue that we have been dealing with for over 100 years. It's been a dispute that has been going on for some time, and normally when you have these type of disputes, they bring about conversation, and it needs to bring about action to some degree. And it's time for us to make these decisions, and so that we can make the best, choice.
So, these conversations, I want to come outside of the classroom. Are these the kind of conversations you're having during lunch break, and how does a conversation happen outside? What is conversation like about this issue outside of the classroom? Not when the teachers are listening.
Well, due to the fact that we've been having the ICJ series at our school, normally afterwards we'd go into break or lunch, or it depends, and then we'd speak about it based on the information that they presented, and we'll debate whether or not amongst our peers to see how we feel about it. Was it factual, or was it mainly was the presentation mainly opinionated, or we need to look at the facts for this issue for us to make the proper decision.
Yeah.
So that's how we have these debates and these conversations, and then we find pro points and we find cons, and then we speak about it, and then we even bring it up with our other teachers who aren't social studies teachers. We bring it up with our English teachers, our science teachers. They've become involved, they've asked questions.
Do you have this conversation taking place at home as well amongst your families? Tell me about that.
Well, my parents and I, we have different viewpoints. So, and I've always been a talkative person, so we talk about this and argue and have, friendly conversations.
Yeah. And where do you get your information from before your series started?
Well, usually I listen to the news with my grandmother. So my grandmother, she would actually inform and talk to me about it. And throughout my family, we have very different opinions. And some say they're yes for the ICJ, some say they're no. And personally, I believe that it's all boiled down to one thing, and that it's everyone's opinion on what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to, before we move into, because there's a lot more I want to tap into the girls, but I also want to be able to clarify that there's quite a bit of groundwork that's gone into helping them shape their opinion. You didn't just move into a debate, and you didn't just move into one presentation and say, okay, we've covered our grounds. You went beyond that. Tell me about it.
Okay, so what we had first was a general information session about the ICJ and the referendum. and that was done by the referendum unit. Then we had Giovanni Brackett and Wilma Hia come in, and Rufus X, and they talked about why we shouldn't go to the ICJ.
That's a power team right there.
Yes, it's a power team. You had to bring him all the way from PG.
Yeah.
He thought it
Did you
was very
select these
important.
people, or you just asked for people who were pushing a no vote?
We had a discussion, and we basically made some calls, and we got our yeses, right?
Okay.
And also what we did was the debaters, they had intimate sessions, right, with different people. Like, for example, they met Mr. Pinello, and he talked to them a lot about the ICJ and the claim itself. And what we're going to do next, we're going to try to have a few more presenters that are solid yes, and they're going to be meeting with Miss Brenda Armstrong one-on-one next. And then we're going to have the actual debate on January 18th. And after the debate, the school, as well as representatives from all the high schools in Belize City, will be casting a vote on whether they think we should go to the ICJ or not.
I get chills thinking about it, because this is the connect that I think is missing from the conversation as well, and why you all need to be as informed. You will carry on the mantle of whatever decision is made, whether it is, if it's a no vote, finding what alternate solution there may be, or if it's a yes vote, following through the ICJ process. How much do you think that is a part of the thought process and what you've been hearing so far? What the implications are for the young people like you?
Well, I believe, due to the fact that if we would say no, and even if we would say yes, it has an impact on our future generations.
Yeah.
Us, we are the future generation, and then we have those who are coming up as well. And then we have to think about the impact of the other side for Guatemala as well, and their future generation, and as well as what we're risking is an important factor. Our natural resources, our security, our borders, what's at stake, all these different factors have to be taken into knowledge and taken into place and become aware of. So it's important for us to recognize that we one day will become older and we'll have to make a decision as well, and we'll have to vote.
Yeah.
So it's
No.
important for us.
Let me just get Franae into the conversation here, because this is such a great time to be in school. I have to tell you that. And yeah, it sounds like one of those old people things, but it's just because you have a real life example of history unfolding before you. And I imagine how much that just invigorates the classes that you're having where you're touching on this. I remember my mom talking about heads of agreement, and it still is, it's history. You talk about the past, but when you're living it, it's so different.
Yeah.
Tell me how this has changed the context of the conversations in the classrooms.
Well, they're definitely interested when it comes to this issue. And having these informational forums, having the facts presented to them has definitely opened their eyes. I have had students come to me from outside of the classroom, come to me at the door and say, and discuss what they have heard or learned from these informational forums. And definitely having this presented to them has impacted their views, has had them, or forced them, I should say, to think about it analytically.
Yeah.
Why is it this way? Why is it that way? And also analyzing it to see what are some of the questions that we asked but may not have been answered how we want it to be answered. What are still some things that we need clarification on?
Yeah.
So, yes.
You know, we are going to vote next year, but none of you can vote, and none of you will be able to vote next year. And nobody who is going to be voting in this mock referendum will be able to vote either next year. What are your emotions as you gather all this information and you look at it and you say, it's kind of like what I went through when I was in third form and watching everybody going to prom. And I thought, man, if I were going to prom this year, this is what I would do. What are your emotions as you gather all this valuable information and you are thinking, if I were to vote next year, I would. I'm not asking you to say how you would vote. Surely not. Please don't. But what are your emotions as you look at other people who probably are not even interested in this? some who probably won't even participate. But you're looking at all this information, you're thinking, man, if I had Halle Berry looks and an agent like that, this is what I would do. What are your emotions going through this process as you collect all this information? Knowing that you can't vote.
Well, I think with all the information forums that we had, that we learned so much that we are able to make a change, to do something about it. We can go and actually, if we know people who wouldn't want to vote, we can go and actually talk to them. We can't vote, but we can help someone to make a decision. And that's my main...
Powerful. No good. I vote for no.
And just to add to that, the truth is some of our students can't vote.
Wow.
Right? Some of them are approaching 18.
Nice.
All right, so they will be able to vote.
And if there is a no vote, it's a possibility that you would have to vote again sometime down the road. That's a possibility.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to take a time to reflect. So now you are in the thick of things. You're having direct presentations made to you by the referendum unit so far, by the people who are pushing for a no vote, and you will have the people who are pushing for a yes vote a bit later on. So it means that, one, you've done your research, because I know you're SEA girls, but secondly, you get to look at the wider public conversation with a different perspective. And I want to ask you, there was a forum held earlier this week. It was, day before yesterday. Very poorly attended. Lots of different conversations coming out of that. What are your thoughts on how the public conversation is taking place? Do you feel that it's effective?
Well, personally, I feel like it is effective, but not everyone is like paying attention to it. And this is a very serious matter, because whatever happens will affect our future, and we as youth, we make up most of the population of our country. So whatever the adults decide now will affect us down in the future. Yeah. And
have you thought to yourself at all, and this is merely an observation as I sit here talking to you, that there aren't many women who are putting forward a position on either side? There's Miss Brenda and Miss Gilda. Have you thought about that? Have you noticed that?
That is true.
that is
Yeah.
true.
No thoughts on that one?
Well, I do know that as women and as females, we have opinions, and I feel that many times that it's often ignored due to gender biases. That you're saying, most of the time that you'd look at certain situations, and you could even relate it to politics if you'd like, that they often respect somehow the position and the opinion of a man more than a woman. Not necessarily sure why. Sometimes the woman has more education than the man at times, and they still prefer the man's opinion. So some people may consider it to be a waste of time. Why would I go out there if they're not going to listen to me? So that could probably be the reason why we see such a lack of the women.
I'm going to completely swallow my tongue as an SJC alumni, because I'm outnumbered by SCA persons. But I wanted to ask in terms of, and I think that it's just a reflection of where we are. I mean, if you're looking even at the House of Representatives, I think there are only 2 females who are in there, and we haven't necessarily heard them either on it, and nobody's stopping anybody from saying that. But I wanted to ask this. As you prepare for the debates normally, it's like a courtroom drama. And sometimes style wins over substance. Sometimes when you have somebody who can put things together in a way that, good gosh, you haven't seen it before, and people actually miss the substance of what they say. You said something earlier that you guys were talking after you had the presentations as to whether or not there was substance to it or not. How do you, in making your preparations for the debate itself, how do you balance off between being innovative, telling them something they've never heard before, in a way they've never heard it before, or giving them substance? How do you make that balance between choosing style over substance, or substance over style?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I think yes, like what you said is that it is in the way that they've presented it, and it regards into what they show us as well, because you can provide us like slides and PowerPoints to show us these different informations and different opinions as well. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to the mindset of the individuals who are paying attention to your forum.
And I do think you can have style and substance. So I'm a firm believer of that. I do want to say that we have been joined at this time by the principal of St. Catherine Academy, Salome Tillett. And we are in the midst of a very riveting conversation. Of course, the girls are impressing in just how they have such a great understanding of what they're doing and the implications there. But from your standpoint, as the leader of the school, when you see the girls engaging on something that is so important to all of us, what's it like from your end?
Well, I'm sitting right here with my teachers. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning. And actually, it's magical to me. I look at these young women and I see leaders who will, oh gosh, fill in that void that we have now. They are all totally impressive in their mindsets and in their ability to sift through what is just verbiage and just the drama to what is the facts. These girls are so good.
I see the next Lisa Schumann here too.
Well, I'll tell you, Lisa is a graduate of St. Catherine Academy. And when we were looking for women, actually we had started this idea trying to come with the voice of women. And so we were searching for women who had strong yes, strong no positions, and we could not find. We could not find the women to be the panelists. Actually, we started
They have opinions, but they're not pushers of either side. Yeah.
And we started looking for SCA women, to be honest.
And then
you could? See, I went to the wrong. We went looking the wrong places.
You see, sometimes you need the help of a man.
Wait. Well, it's partnership, so I believe in a partnership. But we broadened the scope, the search, and we ended up with gentlemen. Yeah. But I trust the wisdom of our girls. They are able to discern between what's factual and what's not. But I do agree the voice of women is missing on this issue. Yeah. Yeah. So for us to engage our young women, because as one of them said earlier, they are influential with their peers. They're influential in their home, so they'll go home and say, Mom, I heard this, that, and engage in the discussion. Whether they could vote in the national referendum or not, they can engage in the discussion.
Actually, the children are very influential at home, and I'm sure you know that when you engage with your parents and they're like, you actually know something I don't know, or you brought a point I didn't know. But something is standing out to me, and I think it is important. Kevin asked the question of style and substance, but you very clearly said that a part of your processing of what you've been hearing is being able to distinguish whether somebody is just bringing a great communication style, an effective communication style, or if they're bringing you something valid. What have you found so far?
Well, with both the forums, we had a snippet of each. With our first forum, we had substance, and Ms. Armstrong presented her facts in slides. And as students, especially as seniors, we have a lot of our presentations and teachings with PowerPoint, so it's something that we're used to, and we get the information. Now, at the forum we had on Tuesday, it was more substance, as the presenters are more charismatic. So I think we are all able to pick up bits and pieces and just get our facts.
So I want to ask another opinion on that. So what do you think on that?
Well, I personally believe that like what Cameron said, we both had a snippet of style and substance, but it really takes the individual to like balance it like perfectly and to use that to bring their point across.
You guys are going to be on the debate team, right? Do you already have what position you're going to represent? Yes. What position are you representing?
4.
To go to the ICJ?
Yes. I'm 4 as well.
And I'm against.
Okay. Do you think one is harder to put forward than the other?
Well, based on what I've seen so far, it appears so, but we still need to hear the yes side in our referendum series for us to make that proper final decision.
Can I ask this question of the principal? This is innovative. I know SJC was on, they did it already. But it is innovative, but it's also risky. How do you deal with the possible backlash of parents saying, you know what, I don't want to get my picnic or anything there. Because parents do have pre-existing opinions as to not only whether or not we go to the ICJ, but the process that we're using to go through. So could you talk to us about your thought considerations about the risk of actually doing something like this?
Well, at SCA, we are grooming women for leadership. And that means that they have to be able to intelligently make their position. So you can't do that if you only hear one side. We're not afraid to be risk takers. The Sisters of Mercy have done that for all the centuries that they have existed, and it's no different with the young women who will continue our traditions into the future. So we have no problem with that, actually. We welcome, I think our parents bring them to SCA exactly because they know it's a process of not only academic education, but empowerment as well. We are preparing our girls to go lead wherever in the world or whatever career they will take on. And so it means that they have to hear and be able to sift between all the information that they get and decide what makes sense. And when they know that, stand up for what is the truth that they believe in.
Yeah.
So remember, SCA is the leader here in this issue. And again, because we wanted the voice of women to be a part of the discussion. But it has evolved into a wider feel, a broader sense in that we will have students from about 23 high schools voting with our girls. And so we will not be outnumbered. So we will have give the other young people an opportunity to hear these young women speak, put their position, and with a little bit of drama, because you could see Davrin, she has a little fire in her. So she, and they all do, you're right. And the other members of the team who are not here, likewise. But the audience, the young people will hear that and then decide what do they think, which hopefully they will be able to convince one way or the other. And so we think it will be interesting to see what will be the voice of the youth.
Are you all surprised by the level of conversation? Because I'm sure you went in with an idea of what you would be hearing from the girls, but have they really wowed you in the depth in knowing the issue?
What surprised me the most was the question and answer component.
Tell me.
I mean, we thought that we would have to help them to develop their questions, but they developed better questions than us. They developed some wonderful questions, and the way how they presented it, and they were brave to stand up in front of these men and ask and argue with them at some points, right? So it was wonderful.
You know, you said something that is resonating with me. You said that the information that being put out there, when I was asking a question about substance and style, and you said it depends on the person receiving it and balancing the two. As a presenter in these debates, one of the most important things is to know your constituency. Constituency meaning the people you're speaking to,
your audience.
You're speaking to your audience. And talk to us about that, because you're dealing with a demographic, you're dealing with a group of people who are youths. If you get too bored and you spend too long, we're going to tune you out, because we are the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers, and we have YouTube videos that are 2 minutes long, and we don't have attention span for about. Can you talk to us a little bit more? Because there's a little bit of youth in all of us, even Marlene and myself. And our attention spans are what they are, but our attention to something that is different transcends everybody, even the principal, everybody here. I want you to talk to us a little bit about what focus or what your strategy is in terms of reaching your audience, whether not only the style aspect of it, but what innovative things are you going to be putting forward so that the information doesn't seem boring or repetitive?
Well, I can say from English class, we learn different literary styles, so we can put together our presentation, like using rhetorical questions and stuff like that. So I think when we start with our presentations, we can find some way using those devices to spice it up.
Yeah.
Any hints?
No.
She's not going to give away her argument now. there is a general perception, and it's very common in Belize. You know, there are the loud voices, and there are a lot of other people who kind of just watch, and we don't really know where they are. It happens in elections, and we're seeing it very much with this issue as well. The louder voices right now seem to be the people who are pushing for a no vote. And I would imagine that maybe your school demographic is very similar as well. There's some who are very vocal about not going to the ICJ, and many others who are silently watching and trying to make their decisions. How do you, and I want to ask the two girls who are going to be pushing for a yes vote, how much do you put that into context as you prepare for your presentation? Do you feel that you are going up trying to change people's minds or just present the facts?
Well, for me, my goal is that, well, my hopeful goal is that they'd be able to realize the information that I'm presenting will be based on facts, but it will also not bore them at the same time due to the age group. And it's important for them to realize and understand that when we do this, when we put ourselves in this position and we're saying yes and we're hearing all these opinions of no, we have to take that into consideration because it is a debate. So we have to take all those factors into play before we were even able to decide if we were going to go yes. So that when we listen to those arguments, we strengthen our pros, we strengthen our beliefs, and we are able to we are able to give them the proper information that they need and that they're asking for.
Okay.
And just to add to what Davin said, that my goal would be to show the girls that we shouldn't make our decisions based on opinions. We have the facts. So my goal is to show them the facts, and you can use this to, and like let them know you can use this to make your decision. You shouldn't make your decision solely on your opinion.
So from the conversations you've heard so far, from the presentations you've seen, is there any question that is still lingering that you just haven't gotten an answer to?
I think my question would be, if we choose not to go to the ICJ, how will we settle this dispute?
I've also heard from the no side that presented to us, they said that we haven't exhausted all our options. But when I did my research, I noticed that we've had over 200 negotiations. And Belize knows that we're not going to give up any land. And they want our land. So it doesn't seem that there's anything left to negotiate. So for me, I believe that the only option left for us to do in a most civil and peaceful manner is for the ICJ.
And lingering question for you?
Well, a lingering question for me is from the forums that we heard. I think, and what lingers is that why would our government change our referendum laws to accommodate Guatemala?
That's an interesting question. I wanted to ask you this. Some people have been saying that the campaign outside of the private ones, the official campaign, is particularly skewed towards giving you a lot of information to vote yes. It comes in lots of different packages, but really and truly, silently, people are saying that the authorities are trying to get us to vote yes. So your opponents have a lot of information. I mean, a lot. Where are you sourcing your information? Because even though they're very extremely solid reasons as to why we should not go to the ICJ, we don't hear them as much because the commercials we're seeing on TV, the very structured, very nice professional diplomats that we're hearing, the professionals coming into the country, are all singing from the choir sheet of yes. How do you come in and get the solid, because I know you're going to bring substance to your presentation, how are you getting that information of the very reasoned no votes? And how do you, because there's another thing too, And I should make you answer that
I
first.
think, yeah.
Let me
one
let you
question
answer
at
that
a
first.
Well, how I'm going to bring about the no side is that because I actually do some research and we actually had a presentation, and when I looked at some of the different treaties, I see that Guatemala actually, in the past, Guatemala actually signed one of our old treaties before we became Belize. They actually signed and said, we are Belize. They said Belize. So that's what gets me to know, and I'm going to like bring that point across, because why would they like all of a sudden in the 1990s or the 1970s, why would they like actually say and enter in their constitution, Belize es nuestra, and that means Belize is ours, and they have recognized us from the time being over 100 years ago before we became actually Belize.
Yeah, yeah. And the second thing, which is maybe I want to spread it out to everybody. When I was in school and they gave us debates, I used to love them. But sometimes it's very confusing because, for example, I remember I did one about the death penalty. And my view of the death penalty back in I won't say which year.
People can guess.
But was different from the position I was given. The position I was given differed from my personal view. How do you balance out, as you gather information, you might gather information, some of you who are doing the yes, and you might be thinking, after I look at all of this, and I don't listen to Mr. Bradley on TV, how do you approach in your mind differentiating between
Your personal
the
opinion.
personal opinion and the opinion that you have to present?
Is it different?
If it is different.
Well, for me, what my mom, she always told me is that you can't let your emotions take over the facts. So you always have to read it for yourself, see it for yourself, and then based on those facts, you can formulate your opinion from that. So it's best to lead first with the facts and look at it from both sides, both aspects, and then make your view.
All right. See, these girls are well prepared.
I love it. I love it.
You know, you have one more forum coming up before your actual debate.
Yes.
Tell me, you know, the invitation to extend this activity beyond just St. Catherine's, I think is a great one. You're bringing in schools. Are they just going to be from Belize City? And
From
what
across
has been
the
the
country.
response? Yeah.
It's tremendous. We've had 23 schools agree to participate or accept our invitation, and they're all sending representation, about 25 to 30 students each, but the students must register. So we're giving them the
they're having
whole
their own
election,
registration
yes.
process.
And these girls must register too. If they don't register, they don't get to vote. So we have an open registration period. I think the registration closes today. And if they don't register, they come to the voting booth and their name is not on the list, they don't get to vote.
You're really getting a full
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I mean, yesterday a girl could not find her social security card, and she was asking for an extension to the registration period because she wants to get that card to vote in our mock referendum. So they are very excited about it.
So preparing them for real life, that is what it's like. And if you don't take the time, you're too busy, you have to go maybe catch up with something, go to your extracurricular. You didn't make the time to go there, just like in real life. You don't make the time to go register, you can't vote. And then your opinion won't matter because it will just be words.
So do you have
So-
to push people to register at school as well? No?
No.
They're eager on it.
All of them are
Be
eager
like these
to-
high
All of
schoolers.
them are eager to complete the
You know,
registration
some-
process.
What do you want to be the takeaway from this?
That their opinion matters, their thoughts matter, no matter their age, and their voice, not just having an opinion, but an educated opinion, that is something that doesn't have an age. It is something that we as teachers, as their educators, as their parents should always push to meet.
Yeah. And from the leadership standpoint?
We want them to participate in the process, because this is a national issue that affects them. I heard Anya say earlier that whatever we decide now will affect them. So we want, whatever their feeling on it is, we want them to know it doesn't always happen how you would want it to be. Sometimes you lose, it happens with election, but the fact that you're a part of the process, that you are engaged, you're not a bystander, and especially on matters of national interest. What we have seen too is an increase in patriotism, and I think that's a button that could easily be love Belize, so what will you do about it? So because you love your country, engage in this, and this is what we've had them talking about it and caring and maybe arguing, but engaged, you know. And so for this issue, but whatever comes along, the next national issue, whatever it is that requires them to be engaged in a discussion that's bigger than what's at my desk, what's happening in my house, be a part of the bigger discussion for Belize and for the world, really.
You know, I think one of them spoke about it too, that is a majority of our voters who are going to be voting at referendum are actually young. 60% of the population are youth. But not 60% of them are educated like these prefects that we have here with their honor roll badges that they each have. I wanted to ask you this from this direction, which is, as teachers and principals, there has to be a portrayal of confidence and of having a grip on what's going on, but you're also citizens. And for the average citizen out here, I don't know what it is for you, each of you individually, there's a sense that we just don't have all information. What is your approach to balancing between exuding that confidence to these students, to allow them to deliver on what they are delivering, and to deliver on their growth in their civic maturity, and your own personal view? Because I'm an attorney and I have my own questions as I go along. How do you as a citizen balance between what you don't know and you're vulnerable to, and your duties as a professional with this process, with the students?
Well, I could start by saying that we have to be objective. No matter what our opinions are, we can't go convince
There's
this
no
with
such
one
thing as
way.
objectivity.
We strive hard for it. Yes. We have to let them, you know, come across as objective, but also we have to inform ourselves. So in this process, our students, we say it's a forum for them, but they are being educated, their parents are being educated, the teachers are being educated.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you, Miss Armstrong taught me some things that I did not know.
She always does that
you
to
know?
me.
Yes, and she did it in it was so easy to understand. And our Humanities department, I believe, is second to none. Miss Kalima, as the head of the department, has been very creative and innovative, and we brought on, these women are leaders. Don't make mistake about that. So they are great role models.
There's a race coming for them?
But you know what I think is so evident here too as well? You've taken the back seat and let them take the lead. And I've seen it just here in this conversation, which shows where your intentions are. You want them to understand and you want them to represent. And I can tell you from experience that young people can say and understand things that just will blow your mind. So I cannot wait to hear this debate. I am sure that it's going to be a level of conversation and debate that we have not seen about this issue anywhere. So I do have very high expectations. And just because I know that your interests are very different, this is your future. This is what somebody else is going to make a decision about what your future will be. And so this is the last shot of letting them know how you view it and what you are expecting from them as well. So we really look forward to it, and best of luck. Whichever side wins, I just know whatever comes out in the debate will be some of the best information we've seen so far. Right?
Will it be televised?
Yes, it will.
Yes, it will be televised
On
live.
which channel? Across?
Maybe Channel 5. Channel 5, but you know.
Yeah, we've
partnered with
them.
Channel 5, yes.
Yeah. So we are partnering, and we will show it on TV. So everybody will see it on Facebook. And but most importantly, the vote as well is going to be.
What we want to do is also for the young people who cannot come into the debate, of course, you know, space and all the considerations of moving people, that they would have a little viewing session in their school so they could get together, and we haven't planned a way that they could vote because, you know, we have to have a voters list that's definite.
Yes.
But that they could still be engaged by sitting together and looking on, hearing the views, and then being more educated themselves.
That's
so
such a great idea. Like when we used to listen to children's rally on a radio
Yeah.
a long time ago,
Yeah.
they could
You
watch
gather
it
together.
together and maybe do votes there. Yeah. But wonderful initiative, I think, from the team of the leadership, and also we've seen that the girls have taken it on wholeheartedly, and we really look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We,
Good luck.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll be having a conversation about the Honey Symposium and Expo. So stay tuned.